Hot girls don't trademark work that was not originally theirs. Now, that is quite a sentence. Yep, that's a sentence that would have sounded completely insane to anybody 5 years ago. Now, imagine explaining this controversy to a Victorian author. It'd be something like, excuse me, Mr. Dickens, but a large group of readers on an application called TikTok are arguing about ownership rights surrounding a phrase associated with attractive women who consume literature. He would immediately return to tuberculosis. Today, we're talking about one of the strangest and funniest and most revealing internet controversies to hit the reading community in probably well over a decade. And it's not even really because it is such a big controversy. No. BookTok has survived much worse. We've had author scandals. We've had review wars. We've had people arguing about whether annotating books is a sacred act of literary devotion or if it's a felony. We've had entire communities go to battle over fictional men who absolutely needed therapy. But this is special. What makes this controversy so fascinating is how quickly it transformed. Because it literally started out as somebody's paperwork and somehow became a referendum on community, identity, ownership, creator culture, internet folklore, and the collective emotional stability of readers. Those are very different things. Now, the paperwork stayed the same. The feelings just got bigger. The phrase at the center of all of this: hot girls read. That's it. 3 incredibly normal words. 3 words. Wasn't exactly the Da Vinci Code now, was it? It's not a secret prophecy. It was just 3 very small words that somehow triggered the literary equivalent of a medieval succession crisis. And before we begin, here is my little itty-bitty disclaimer. This is not legal advice. I am not a lawyer. I have never been a lawyer. I have never wanted to be a lawyer. The closest I've come to legal expertise is probably watching approximately 9,000 hours of courtroom TV. So today, we're talking culture. Internet culture. That pesky BookTok culture. Us as readers in culture. And why people reacted so strongly when something that felt communal suddenly started to feel proprietary. Grab your coffee. Grab your tea. Grab your emotional support plushie. Grab whatever beverage is emotionally supporting you through this existential crisis. And let's discuss the day BookTok accidentally enrolled in law school. Hello, I'm Stacey, and this is Litdulterous, the podcast where I talk about books, I talk about readers, I talk about publishing culture. I literally find whatever literary chaos is happening on the internet and deliver it directly to your door. And friends, the internet this week has delivered. Today, we're unpacking the Hot Girls Read controversy over the trademark, otherwise known as the Great BookTok Schism, the literary civil war, the three-word apocalypse, or my personal favorite, the day everyone became an attorney. Let's get into it. So, this is one of my things that I love about the internet culture. I love watching how language has evolved. One of my least favorite things about internet culture is watching people forget that language evolves. Because the internet has the memory of a goldfish and recently suffered a concussion. Now, everyone remembers what happened 3 hours ago. Nobody remembers what happened 3 years ago. The phrase, hot girls read, didn't appear out of nowhere. It didn't come down to us from the heavens. It wasn't discovered hidden in an ancient manuscript. Readers have literally been using this term forever. I've used it. Hot girls read. Hot girls stay home and read. Hot girls cancel plans to read. Hot girls spend alarming amounts of money on books. Yeah, that was me this week on pre-orders. Hot girls buy books faster than they can physically read them. Hot girls own 12 unread books and call it self-care. You might want to add an extra one on there. The phrase has become part of a ongoing book community joke. It's become part of our identities. It's part of the meme culture. It's community shorthand. And that's important. Why, are you asking, is it so important? It's because internet communities don't just create content. They create language. The same way fandoms create inside jokes. The same way friend groups create references. The same way every workplace eventually invents phrases that make absolutely no sense to outsiders. Language becomes social glue. The more people use it, the more collective it feels. Eventually, nobody knows where it started. And that's where things get interesting. Because culturally, the phrase stopped feeling like someone's creation. It started feeling like everyone's phrase, like a public bench, like a neighborhood landmark, like the spoon that's been in your kitchen drawer so long that nobody remembers buying it. You just assume it's always been there, which explains why people reacted the way they did. Because culturally speaking, it's less like someone protecting intellectual property and more like somebody's putting a lock on that community spoon. And suddenly everyone was screaming in the kitchen. Imagine if readers trademarked everything. Enemies to lovers. Trademarked. You mentioned the trope? Invoice. Morally great. Trademarked. Every fantasy author owes somebody $12. One bed. Trademarked. Congratulations. Your romance novel now requires legal counsel. Woo! What about Touch Her and Die? Trademarked. Actually, that one already sounds trademarked. That sounds like something a 6'4" shadow daddy would print on their business cards. Hello, my name is Zayden Nightbane. What do you do? Touch her and die. That's not a job. It is where I'm from. Certain things in life that are considered impossible. Things like world peace, affordable housing, getting a group project to function properly, and getting BookTok and Bookstagram to literally agree on anything. And I do mean anything. Readers are some of the most argumentative people on the internet. Yeah, we argue about endings. We argue about tropes. We argue about ratings. We argue about whether listening to an audiobook counts as actually reading, which, by the way, it does. I'm not opening that comment section today. That is not why I'm here. The point I'm trying to make is that readers disagree professionally. It's basically our hobby. So imagine my surprise when I opened TikTok that day and Bookstagram and discovered that somebody had achieved what years of book clubs and readathons, buddy reads, reading challenges, literary festivals, and publishing campaigns could never in a million years achieve. And all it took was one woman, one trademark filing, and suddenly the entire internet was standing shoulder to shoulder. And you know what the funniest part is? They didn't want to do that. Never in a million years did they plan to do that. But because collectively, millions of readers and small business owners experience the same exact thought at exactly the same time. And it was, go. What the heck you think you're doing? And honestly, it was kind of impressive. I'm not gonna lie. Not necessarily in the way she intended things to go down either, but nevertheless, I was massively impressed. I'm telling you right now, I never expected the internet to deliver in the way that it did over the last 6-7 days. I've never in my life ever seen anything like it. The power of paperwork. One woman accidentally uniting a whole community that normally we just can't agree on anything. Look, I need everyone to understand the scale of this achievement because honestly, this isn't about the trademark itself. Well, maybe not yet. This is about what happened after. Because the second readers found out about it, something extraordinary happened. All those barriers disappeared. Suddenly, it didn't matter if you were a romance reader. It didn't matter if fantasy is your jam. It doesn't matter if you like psychological thrillers and having blood on your handies. It didn't matter whether or not you were a literary fiction reader. Or maybe you just love a little cozy mystery. Dark romance girlies right on board. Manga even. Fan fiction. Yeah, everybody literally emerged out of the shadows. And when I mean everybody, I mean every single reader. I've never seen so many corners of the book community all turn out in one spot. They literally pulled in together like the Avengers in Endgame. It was just portals opening all over the bloody place. And readers were stepping through. There was creators like coming out of retirement. Bookstagram was literally calling out of the woodwork. People who hadn't posted in 6 months all of a sudden were online. Everybody arriving for the exact same reason. Oh, they weren't there to celebrate. They weren't there to recommend books. They weren't telling you what their reading goal is for the year. But they came to collectively ask, girl, are you serious right now? And the beautiful thing was, no one organized it. There was no committee. There was no strategic planning. Nobody was holding a community event. I didn't see no sign-up sheet. But all of a sudden, everybody just appeared. It was like when Batman sees the bat signal activated and flew across the world. The thing about BookTok is that we are constantly fighting. And it's never in a serious way. Well, not usually. But readers love to argue. Someone says they hated a popular book. Argument. Someone gives a bestseller 3 stars. Argument. Someone folds a page corner. Go straight to jail. Somebody says a fictional man is toxic. Argument. Someone says that some other fictional man isn't toxic. Even bigger argument. We literally have disagreements about everything. I've seen readers write essays longer than their college dissertations explaining why somebody else's favorite character is problematic. And yet, this trademark filing happened, and suddenly everybody became cousins at Thanksgiving. They're all just standing around the same table, looking in the same direction, having the same conversation. Guys, it was beautiful. It was terrifying, but still, it was beautiful. Honestly, if aliens ever invade Earth, we should just tell them they trademarked a BookTok phrase. The entire planet would unite immediately. Not joking. Now, my favorite part was literally watching the internet process information in real time. Readers did not react normally. Well, you know what? Readers actually never react normally. But the memes literally appeared almost instantly. I don't know how people work that fast. I genuinely think some creators sleep beside their editing software, just waiting for these kinds of opportunities to arise. So, the filing would happen. 5 minutes later, there was a slideshow. 10 minutes later, there was a parody account. 20 minutes later, there was a conspiracy theory. 30 minutes later, somebody had already made merchandise. And an hour later, there were reaction videos. 2 hours later, there were response videos to the reaction videos. 3 hours later, there were response videos to the response videos of the response videos. I'm exhausted just thinking about it. And at some point, the discourse became self-sustaining. Nobody even remembered where it started anymore. We're just generating content through sheer momentum, like a nuclear reactor powered entirely by reader confusion. Now, here's what really kills me, okay? Publishing has spent years trying to create community. I'm not talking a few years. I mean years, decades. They've spent millions upon millions of dollars. They have thrown the largest marketing campaigns. They will do things like book touring. They have book festivals, special events. I'm even part of an influencer group where they do readathons. Oh my God, there's book clubs out the wazoo. Influencer programs. I'm in a bunch of those. Don't agree with most of the people in them, but here we are. Publisher partnerships. And somehow, none of them accomplished what this situation accomplished within the first 24 hours. Nothing unites readers faster than collective bewilderment. Nothing. Not a best-selling fantasy series. Not even a celebrity book club. Not a extra special surprise release. Oh, not even a devastating fictional death. It all hinged on one trademark filing, and everyone was participating. I genuinely think if international diplomacy fails, governments should hire BookTok managers. Apparently, all you need is one confusing decision, and millions of people become emotionally invested overnight. Now, it may sound amusing what I'm saying to you, but what this one business did was take small creators, small businesses who were making money from a phrase that she did not create, and now made it illegal for them to sell their products. Now, by the time you're watching this episode, you're actually going to find out that her trademark is currently being cancelled, which is a smart decision on the whole, but too little too late for BookTok. Now, the comments section, it was hilarious. I saw some of the most incredible things on Bookstagram. No jokes, okay? Like, oh my freaking God. The comments were comedy gold. Some of those comments deserve preservation in a museum. Future historians need access to those comment sections. There were jokes. There were essays. There were legal experts. There were self appointed legal experts. There were people who clearly had no idea what was actually happening, but they really did just get right in the thick of it and have the time of their lives. Honestly, those were my favorite people because they were there just for the vibes. Like, no agenda, no real strong opinions, just popcorn, observing the chaos, living their best freaking book life. And frankly, that may have been the healthiest response available because at a certain point, the discourse became less about the trademarks and more about the entertainment. It was like reality TV for readers. Every refresh brought a new plot twist. Some of the posts were so funny. I had hours of laughter, hours and hours. Like every creator had something to say. And every single one of their statements created another statement. And I'm not joking. I laid in bed and I laughed my freaking ass off for hours. It was literally the equivalent of watching a group chat catch on fire. And I was there for every single moment of it. But the funniest thing about all of this is that readers always claim that they hate drama. We love saying that. Oh, I don't like drama. Sure. Okay. Then explain why you watched 37 videos about the situation. Yeah, I did that. I did that. But I didn't say that I didn't enjoy the drama. I loved it. Okay. Explain why you know everyone's opinion. I can literally name some of my favorite creators that posted about this and how funny they were. And explain why you know the opinions of the people responding to those opinions as well. Because it was exciting. You can explain why that in 2 a.m, you were still scrolling if you hate drama. We don't hate drama. We don't. Readers hate being excluded from the drama. There's a big difference. Look, it's not that I'm saying that we want conflict. We just want context. And then we want you to give us a little more context. And then some additional context. And then I would really appreciate it if there was a timeline. I love me some screenshots. And then I need an analysis video. And then I need a follow-up analysis video. We're literary crash pandas, okay? We're literary raccoons. Trash panda raccoons. Digging through internet garbage. And I did a lot of that in the first 2 days of this being prime subject on BookTok. I was searching for the information. And this controversy will continue to feed us for weeks, even though it's over. She has recanted. She has pulled back her trademark. It did not take long, my friends, okay? And if you think about the logic here, she literally looked at small businesses and said, I see you. I see you using a phrase that I wasn't using before, but now I am, and I'm going to trademark that. And I'm not against you as a small creator, but please, with love, cease and desist. My mind was blown with this woman, okay? I'd never heard of her. She's like a massive, massive business, okay? She's got like 60,000 followers. I'm like, oh my God, what is she doing right? And then I looked at what she was trademarking. It was the most ugliest shirt I've ever seen in my bloody life with the most generic font on the front. And she's like, oh, I was protecting my brand. What? What? Yeah. But at the end of the day, people will argue forever about whether the trademark was a good idea, a bad idea, a really smart business move, a terrible business move, or whether they're going to land somewhere in between. Honestly, ugh, that's not really what's fascinating me, to be perfectly honest with you. There was a lot of stuff going on, but that wasn't the main thing. The main thing was watching how everybody reacted, because the reaction revealed something really funny about readers. Underneath all the arguments, underneath all the niche communities, underneath all the genre wars, we as readers actually have a lot more in common than we like to think. We're passionate. We're really passionate, especially when we see a disservice or a slight against our community. We're opinionated. You only have to watch a few of my episodes to know that I am highly opinionated. We get overly invested, occasionally dramatic. Okay, I get really dramatic. We get deep into the online world in the book community and unbelievably protective of the culture that we have spent our time as readers helping to build. That's what showed up during this whole situation. It's not so much about what the drama was. It was about the way we all came together to stand shoulder to shoulder against it. And for one brief shining moment, readers stopped fighting each other and we were all focused on the same thing. So whether you loved that, hated it, agreed with it, disagreed with it, or simply were just sitting there watching very quietly from the sidelines, not really getting involved, but keeping an eye on it, you honestly have to admit this. That part was kind of incredible. I don't think I've ever seen so many readers collectively go and find small businesses, for example, and show their support by buying out the very thing they were legally not allowed to have in their stores anymore. I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't, because these readers were like, hey, I see you. I see what she's doing to your business. And they literally fought alongside those small creators to help keep our community strong. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. I was supersonic proud of the book community this week. So, congratulations to Ellie Rose. It was nothing to do with your trademark, honey. I honestly couldn't care less about the fact that you went down this road, but you literally managed to accomplish something nobody else had ever done. And that was to unite BookTok. You united everybody on Bookstagram. You managed to unite the most introverted readers into coming online and fighting. It was insane. You unite people who can't even agree on whether a 5-star rating should be masterpiece or whether they merely enjoyed it. Girl, you made history. That was the most historical event I'm ever going to see in my lifetime. It was powerful. It was absolutely terrifying, but it was the most historic thing I've ever seen in my 40 plus years of life. If somebody can figure out how to harness that energy, maybe we could solve world hunger. Guys, I know I've kind of made a joke about what happened, and I'm really not trying to take away from the fact that what this business did wasn't heinous. You never ever trademark words that you did not create. She didn't create these words. She didn't do anything unique with these words. It would be a different matter if she was trademarking a design. So, like, oh, what was that? There was a Mr. Darcy one somebody had done, and they had created the whole the side profile with the silhouette, and they came up with this caption. They trademarked the shit out of that. Why? Because that was actually theirs. Hot Girls Read has been around for so long. I also have a book merch store. I have stuff with it on. Not a lot, mind you. I think mine says Hot Girls Read Smut, and I have a bookmark. It blew up for a while, which was kind of nice. So thanks for the sales, Ali Rose. But my point was that you don't take something that wasn't yours to begin with and then trademark it and then kindly, respectfully tell people to stop selling something that they had first. And you know what one of the biggest things was? She had the audacity to turn around and say, "Oh, well, I've only been a reader for about 3 years." Sweetheart, I have a bookmark that I created and designed 5 years ago before you were even a reader. Like, that's some pretty blatant audacity. One thing I am certain of, though, is her business will take a tumble for a while, but I'm sure she's going to bring herself back from the brink. She's obviously a very smart businesswoman, and she made the right call in canceling her trademark. I just hope that this is a lesson for other creators. Don't be so freaking stupid. Guys, I hope that you have enjoyed today's episode. So, tell me what the funniest thing is that you've seen unite the internet, because I got to say, this one is definitely making the list. And if you have enjoyed my content for today, follow, like, subscribe, go find me on Patreon. Definitely give me a 5-star because I need it. I need it so bad so I can keep bringing you amazing content. But until next time, stay bookish, stay nosy, stay hydrated. And remember, the hottest thing you can do is read a book. The second hottest thing you can do is stay out of the comment section. I hope that you have the reading week you deserve, readers, and I will catch you next week. The problem being that it's not going to be as hilarious as this week, but still, I will catch you next week. Take care.